Okay, I can see that there's more people joining. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for joining us. I will probably do another little short introduction just in a few minutes. Let's give people a few more minutes to jump in on the call before I present our panelists today and before we can officially start. Hope everyone is having a good day. So far, it's going to get at least more interesting. I think let's give it one more minute and then maybe we can start with the official part. It's going to take me a few minutes to introduce you to our panelists today, and after that, it's going to give a few more minutes for some people who might be a tad late to join us here as well. So, once again, hi everyone. Welcome to the very first Hoteza Open Talks. My name is Sanya. I work as PR and Communications Manager here in Hoteza, and I will be your moderator for the day. Today's session is all about designing the guest journey. And why we're having this conversation is because the guest journey is no longer a straight line. It's becoming a web of digital and on-property touch points, and they all have to feel effortless, they have to feel personalized, and of course, they have to be profitable all at the same time. Getting that right is going to be a make it or break it moment for many hotels worldwide. So together today, we have brought together people who wake up to that challenge every day and helping hotels to do it. We have Andrew, who is strategic partnership and business development lead for Americas for Stripe, a payment powerhouse that's now powering major hotel groups like Accor. We have Luka, who is founder and CEO of Flexkeeping, which is hotel operations platform designed to help teams collaborate better than ever before. And we have our very own Nikolay, founder and CEO of Hoteza, our guest experience platform, which most of you I don't have to introduce to. And that's it. So, guys, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being the first in this call here today.
Yeah, awesome to be here. Thanks for
having us.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, like I said,
And happy birthday to Hoteza, Nikolay. You told me.
Yes,
Happy
thank you,
birthday
thank
yesterday.
you, Luca. Yeah, so we just had a 5 minutes talk. So yesterday we had our 12 years birthday, and actually maybe that was the reason why we decided to make this open talks. So we're going to make it more regular to meet our partners, to discuss challenges and new insights, trends in the hospitality industry, because we see how it's evolving, it's changing, and definitely there is a lot of things happening. So thank you everyone for joining this open talks today, and I think we should start with just quick introduction of each other. Yes, Anya?
We can, of course.
Yeah.
If you want to say a few more words that I might have missed, please go ahead.
Okay, talking about Hoteza, so we're a company that we're developing guest-facing technology, so we're about creating digital guest journeys. So first idea came to our minds in 2014. So yesterday we celebrated 12 years. So 12 years on daily basis. So we are developing a better guest journey for hotels globally. So as of today, we have more than 1,000 customers across the globe, and this number is continuously growing. And what we see, the main change, the main shift that happened in the last 5 years, that no longer hotels asking us questions, so why we need to launch it. So there's a big change in mindset, and so our mission at Hoteza, we wanted not only to be efficient and streamline hotel operations and boost revenues, but to make it sustainable because it matters. So that's why we are here today. So that's it from my side. So guys, thank you so much for joining. So maybe you look at a few words about you and Flexkeeping.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are also 12 years old from the idea out. And this is like our story started because I was in 2012 a housekeeper for one summer, and this is how I got into hotel operations. And my pain back then was that, we ran on paper and walkie-talkie, and it was just super time wasteful, and we made so many mistakes. There was no way to manage this better. We did many bad guest service experiences because of all of that. So the idea that we had back then was to create one platform for all staff members and operations. to just easily communicate and automate and plan, and consequentially just provide better guest experiences for guests via better services. So fast forward to today, we are also around 1,000 hotels globally, more than 80 countries. And yeah, today our main purposes are really making it easy on staff, automating a lot of processes within operations, enabling personalization for guests, and just ultimately driving better profitability for all of that for hotels. So super happy to be here, Nikolay. Nice to be working with you for many years, and yeah, excited for the conversation.
Thank you, Luka, and for Andrew.
Andrew?
So
Yeah.
we just developed the integration with payment gateways several years ago, and Stripe was our first online payment integration. So thank you, Andrew, for joining this conference. So maybe just a few words about Stripe, about yourself. So what Stripe is doing in hospitality, because I know that everyone knows what Stripe is, but
Right.
maybe what your
Well,
goals in
thank you
hospitality.
for being a Stripe user, and also congrats on the 12-year mark. So hi everybody, I'm Andrew, and my role at Stripe is really to help Stripe become a better partner with the travel and hospitality industry specifically. I come from years in the industry, whether worked at strategy at Expedia, I built partnerships at Sonder, I've worked at Hopin in the meetings and events space. So I'm here at Stripe to basically kind of bring, what the experience of like what is top of mind for people in the travel industry and making sure that Stripe is really a thoughtful and effective partner in that. So what does that mean for how Stripe supports travel? A lot of people think of Stripe as, a payments provider, which is true, but I like to think of us more broadly as, financial infrastructure that just helps companies move money in more efficient ways. So what does that ultimately turn into to the travel industry? We can help travel players become more profitable, whether it's leveraging payments and some of our technology that helps optimize checkout flows and websites to help you drive more direct bookings. If you're a hotel or a tour provider, that's really important. We can help hotels or anyone that's thinking about adding ancillaries to their offering launch those and create new business lines very quickly. We can also help companies that work in multiple geographies or that have partners and suppliers all over the world make sure that they can pay out and receive payments from all of those customers in one very unified and easy to use way. And we also have some really interesting products around fraud detection and prevention, which is very top of mind for a lot of folks in travel. So, if you think about, again, Stripe as a partner to help you drive more revenue, either selling more of what you're currently selling net new revenue streams, or kind of running your back-end operations from a financial perspective more efficiently, that's really where I think Stripe is well positioned. And, as Sonia mentioned, we do that across hotels, hospitality platforms, and, or rental cars, etc. It's a pretty broad umbrella. So excited to talk to you guys about kind of guest experience and technology. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, let's get into it. Just from the brief introduction that all three of you did, I think we have all encountered and are quite clear on the fact that the only permanent thing in hospitality business and everywhere is the change. So how do you feel that the guest expectations have evolved in the last 3 years, for example? And how are you seeing hotels, but not only hotels, also tech providers, adjusting to those shifts and changes? If anyone wants to start, we can do that, or I can just call out a name, whatever is more comfortable.
Well, I can say, so as long as we talk about sustainability today, so we see there's a big demand for more sustainable business. First of all, is saving in printing. So we calculated that a mid-sized hotel, like 100 rooms, we can help save 20 to 30,000 of pages every year, which is quite a lot. Secondly, as we discussed several times with Lucas, so we can help a hotel to save resources on housekeeping, so we can save using towels, make less laundries, and so on. And there's a big demand for that, but of course it should be properly communicated to guests, so not make them think that we are trying to save costs on housekeeping, but to make them feel care about a better world, about better hospitality, because Yesterday, read an article that there is a Paris Agreement. According to that Paris Agreement, hospitality commits to reduce carbon emission by 2030 by 60%, by 25 by 90%. So it's quite a big agenda as of today. And actually, it's one of our mission at Hoteza, and that's what we are going to do for next years.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I would comment on the guest expectations part. I think that one fact is that the booking kind of trends are super different than they were probably, and this is ever changing, and it's almost more or less happening last minute and super flexible. I think the expectation is you can more or less travel anytime you want and book anything you want at the last minute or whenever you want. That's one part, and so probably that presents, I don't know, different dynamics in terms of travel. On the other side, also as a guest, I think there is an expectation to have also better flexibility of services and also services on demand and faster. I would also say that probably there is an expectation more and more that hotels would know you better, especially if you are repeating as a guest. Um, and all of those things are, I would say, the three main kind of changes or expectations you need to align to. So knowing guests better, being able to service them fast, being able to react super fast on changes in either demand or requests or service requests, etc. Those are some parameters that I would see are a big change. And we're also focused on very much, let's say, how to empower staff and operations to handle that very efficiently and effectively. That would be some of my aspects that I would think of first. Andrew, I'm curious what you see through payments on that end.
Yeah, I mean, not even just through payments, just kind of stepping back. I think I agree with everything both of you said. I think, especially coming out of COVID, there's definitely a sense of, it's not just last minute, but certainly flexibility. Like if I get sick, I want to know that I have a reservation that I can cancel or change without a penalty or having to be on the hook for a full not getting any refund. But then I agree with you, especially on the speed piece. Like I like to frame it kind of like having frictionless experiences, whether it is through payments or booking or check-in or ordering something in room service. And I think another piece is, this may differ by, kind of generation, but certainly younger generations, are very mobile first and want, the expectation is I want to be able to do everything from booking to check-in to check out on my phone. I don't want to really deal with someone, whereas, older generations really appreciate that in-person touch, and I feel like are craving that even more coming out of COVID. So I think there's definitely, guest expectations have evolved, but I think there's also a point of they've looked different across generation, and technology plays more of a role for some generations than it does others.
Yeah.
Sorry, Luka, please.
I think in any case, impatience, like waiting time, if that's like a check-in point or getting a service delivered or anything like that, or booking
Yeah.
something, is probably dropping on all generations, I would say, because everyone is using Ubers or,
Right.
on-demand other services. So I think that's one aspect that is definitely trickling into hospitality and hotels. And we see a big challenge that we obviously help to resolve is that ops are oftentimes can be a blocker to speed in the ways you handle such things in terms of
Yeah.
flexibility, changing demand or changing service requests, etc. last minute or real time can sometimes be a super big kind of factor for how you handle that from the ops perspective. So those are some super interesting aspects to look at these days. Yeah.
One other
Uh,
thing that just made me realize too is I also think that it's harder to build loyalty because expectations have shifted. And by that I mean, you're just taking a payments example. So what if you're a Dutch customer trying to book a US hotel and you're on Marriott.com for a US property and you don't see payment types that are relevant to you? You're probably going to not want to book that on Marriott site, and you'll say, forget it, I'm going to go to booking.com, right? Just because of that like frustration, like, adding friction to the process. So, it's not just thinking about price sensitivity, it's really thinking about experience sensitivity. And where there's friction, people are very happy to pivot and go to a place that can meet their demand in the way that they want to quickly. And that's definitely a trend. I mean, I do it too. If I'm frustrated, I will not book direct and go to an OTA and come back.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of interesting nuances there too.
Yeah.
I would like to mention another example where we collaborate with Stripe very efficiently. So it's during pre-stay experience, a pre-stay phase. So for example, if a guest would like to customize his stay with, I don't know, maybe transfer from airport, maybe flowers in his room. So this is where our collaboration with Stripe becomes really efficient, since the hotel shouldn't wait for money to come from a customer. So he shouldn't wait when guest arrives to hotel, so we can charge the guest immediately. So if he's asking for maybe spa reservation, maybe flowers, maybe something else, so this that becomes very efficient, and we see a lot of demand from hotel side, and guests love to use it. Yes.
So from what you're saying and from what I'm hearing, it's all about getting to that personalization and easing the process for the guest, but also not overwhelming either them or the staff within that whole process. So what we can probably conclude from this, and please disagree if my conclusion doesn't align with yours, but it's all about how the backend systems basically cooperate together and collaborate together in creating that frictionless, as you said, Andrew, journey for the end user, which is the guest in the end, while at the same time making the operations of the hotel feeling less overwhelmed by the demand, even if that demand might rise or stay exactly the same.
Yeah.
So this is where we can. Sorry, Andrew. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what I want to tell this is where we can help hotel staff to be more human to guests, to spend less time on transactions, but instead of that, to speak more to guests, to understand their guests, and to make hospitality more human. So all of our companies, we are not replacing human factor, but we are trying to become hotels more human, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the way I like to frame it is let hotels or, whoever is customer or guest facing, like let them focus on the actual hospitality piece that technology and AI will never actually fully replace. Let all of us on this call do the heavy work on the back end to just enable more of those moments, which is why people travel, right? Like the memories and the experiences, like, how you pay a bill is probably not going to be as memorable as meeting a desk check-in person who knows your name and remembers the wine you like and is so happy to see you again. So I totally agree with you, Nikolay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's just about enabling, if you want to sum it up, like enabling on one side the guest to use or request or travel the way they want to travel via their channels, be it last minute, real time, planning ahead, whatever, enabling them to get their services the way they want them and when they want them, etc. And then enabling the operations part to also handle that service that to the exact same level. So it's a little bit it's a big enablement, I think, thing on both sides of the equation.
You can say it's a balancing game, basically, between where you want the technology to kind of stop and the human connection to take over. So just joining that two things in a guest journey, which is something that we are here all to help hotels do and to kind of make it happen. So, in your opinion, just like personally, where does the hotel technology need to stop and the human connection take over? Just like, for example, you're traveling and what's something that you would rather see in a human contact kind of like emphasized more compared to what you think hotels might be wasting a little bit too much time on currently in their guest interactions and guest journeys?
I kind of feel like there's two, like just using the hotel example, to me, there's kind of two moments for me where I think having more of the human interaction is important. I think it's at the beginning, so at check-in, if we're going to use a hotel example, because that really can set the tone for your trip if that goes really well and you're really welcomed, that you're surprised and delighted by whatever the hotel team does to welcome you. And then I think if things hit the fan, if things get bad, What if
Yeah.
there's a crisis, or what if somebody's sick, or what if I forgot my computer charger or something? That's where I feel like, the human piece can step in. But I will say, for all of that, and I'm sure this is a whole nother topic for later, like technology can help support some of that, from the back end, but those moments to me feel most important. I'm curious, what does the rest of the team think?
Yeah, personally, I don't see one answer at all in this case. I think there's one category of things that everyone should just get done with tech. So, stuff like, I don't know, providing basic information at check-in just to scan your passport, stuff like that. I don't know. There's a category of things that is just a waste of time, I would say.
Yeah.
I want to experience on both sides. And then for all of the rest, it's really down to what type of hotel you are and what type of traveler you are and what's the purpose of it all, you know? Because let's say if we fly to London next week for a super busy schedule of meetings, you just want to get to a nice room or apartment that has everything you need. You don't want to talk to anyone necessarily. Just want to get into the room with a key on your phone, whatever. Just get your stuff and go out, and you'll be super happy, right? But then equally, you might be going for a nice vacation to the same destination, to a boutique property, and then you have the time and you do want to have like a person maybe suggesting you what to do today based on whatever is the circumstance. Uh, and in all cases, that can be either tech or person. But I think it's super important to understand the purpose of travel, type of property, all of those things, and that's how you should, in my opinion, define the tech versus in-person thing. But there's always, at this point, a line at check-in, for example, is always a waste of time, right? So there's no special experiences hidden in that anymore. That's my personal opinion, how I would think about it.
Nick, do you want to chime in for you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I fully agree. Yes. So this is where tech can help hotels. I absolutely agree.
Perfect. So I think we can also conclude that there are those moments where you identify your guests and you can take this into creating a really that meaningful personalization that we were mentioning in the beginning. Because if you're just personalizing different steps that don't end up making sense in the end for this particular guest, experience and how they want to like go through the hotel stay in this case, it all kind of boils down to not an exceptional experience for them, and meaningful personalization is also the key. One other topic that we mentioned a little bit in the beginning, I think Nicola mentioned it, is a topic that's on everyone's minds for a few years now, but I think with the in the last maybe few years, it's really taken a stage center position, which is sustainability when it comes to hotels and hospitality. So, in your personal experience in creating sustainable practices, what are some initiatives that hotels can maybe implement even today without compromising that guest experience?
I mean,
Well, as
I
I
think,
mentioned,
go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
okay, yeah, well, as I said in the very beginning, so first of all, I think hotels should start with getting rid of compendiums, these printed materials, because it's a lot of paper, and also during check-in, so no need to use these registration cards, while everything can be automated, can be stored in a database. It's not only sustainable, but it's also makes more sense to manage all this data in the future, because it can be not just storing data, but it can be managed and used for a better guest experience in future. So this is where I think we can help. So secondly, as I mentioned, so we can help to be more sustainable by saving more labor, water, and materials on housekeeping. And another example of how we can help us to be sustainable if integrated with room controls, so we can help to save energy as well. So if we save, for example, switch on conditioner half an hour before guest arrival, and power it on when guest is out of the room, so we can help to save up to 50% of energy. So and many more examples. So what about you, Luca? How we can help?
Yeah, no, all of those examples are great. Some more granular, or even like the cleaning substance types and stuff like that. Obviously, in operations, in within housekeeping, the way by far the most frequent example is the skip cleaning or green stay campaigns, stuff like that. I think that still realistically a lot of them do get close to a bit of a greenwashing still, which was in the past a big realistic thing actually, and now it's getting, the thing behind the skip cleaning campaigns a lot of times is that it's powered by, lack of staff, where this is also kind of a big reason why it's so popular. So, but that's maybe another topic to not go too deep into that. However, I think that um, instead of just having like green campaigns like skip cleaning, etc., you can maybe today is where we can start thinking about how do we personalize a guest stay also for services like housekeeping. This is where, let's say, connection between what you would do on the front end side or guest facing side and us and the hotel together can really get super creative. You can offer guests to choose their plan of how they like to be serviced. It can be full, it can be partial, it can be only pillow selection, it can be towels, it can vary. And I think the really good opportunities here is to, at the same time, offer guests choice, feeling of care and feeling of personalization, and then at the same time drive efficiency, sustainability, cost savings. I think there's actually a really big opportunity within that space for sustainability for sure. So yeah,
And
interesting.
I would just add, I think those are all really smart shouts. As, kind of putting my payments and money movement hat on. I think there's a way that you could argue sustainability can play a role there as well. I mean, kind of at one point, just reducing any sort of printouts or receipts, et cetera, right? Like if everything is digital and captured, that's kind of like one piece of the puzzle. I think the other thing is, one of the things that Stripe helps enable hotel properties to do is unified commerce. So, thinking about every marrying in one platform, everything online and mobile, but also everything on property. If you're able to do that through contactless check-in, or if when somebody checks in, if you can tokenize their payments and have that kind of translate to any spend on property, and then you have all of that in one view, there's fewer receipts, fewer card swipes, etc. I think the other piece is if you think about that unified view of both online, mobile, and in person, you'll have a really good sense of all of the payment activity and transaction activity that's happening on your hotel, which can dictate better inventory planning. So maybe you don't need to overstock, which can be not sustainable. Maybe you can have better data than help personalize in some of the ways Luka was just saying, just based on all of that transaction history, based on all of your different guests across that kind of online in-person world. So, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said, but I also think there is a way that kind of where Stripe sits can help augment some of those efforts through really that kind of data layer and, reducing the amount of paper that may be involved in more traditional payment ways.
Also a checkout phase, or if we can implement online checkout and engage payment gateways, or we can get rid of invoicing and on net
Right.
unnecessary printing, yeah, as well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So also what I'm hearing maybe from this sense is that sometimes even if hotels are reluctant to perhaps make a change, I think there have been some shifts in guest mentality. And my question to you from your personal point of view, do you think that guests are willing to trade their comfort in order to make this impact from your conversations with hotels and shifts?
I mean, I can just speak for myself personally. Like, I'm super pro environment, so I feel like part of me has died if I, don't reuse my towels. But that said, I agree with Luca. I think it comes down to if guests are offered the choice, they're probably more inclined to want to select something more sustainable. So anytime people feel like they're kind of it's forced on them, is kind of at least at a high level how I would think. So if offered a choice, I think guests would be very inclined, but I don't speak for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that this is exactly the point. Like the biggest problem, or let's say probably the biggest mistake you can do is not delivering on an expectation. This is where like enforced campaigns to the wrong type of guest or specifically guest can not fly, in the right way. This is where that turning it around into more a personalization experience or a very positive message that is completely free to choice, etc., really makes sure that this doesn't happen. So I think personalization is really probably the big trick, so to say,
Mhm.
that wouldn't have that problem at all at the end of the day. So just not delivering something that's expected would be a problem, I would think.
I fully agree. I guess I should have a choice. But if a hotel doesn't offer a digital choice, it's not good neither. So I think if I am a Z generation, I would expect not to communicate probably at all. So why should I force a guest to communicate to hotel staff? I don't know, just my idea. Because I guess a difference. So we should respect what they feel and how they want to be treated.
Hmm.
Very interesting point. I think maybe we can always, when we are talking about expectations, we might not always consider just guest expectations, but also hotel expectations and budgets. So I think maybe part of the whole conversation when it comes to sustainability is also showing that impact that implementing these practices could not only due to their reputation, but it can also be meaningful to their budgeting. Like Luka said, you were going to avoid the topic of staff shortages, which was also one of the things that hotels were kind of like they were touching on sustainability to kind of not discuss that burning topic at the moment, but at many moments, implementing sustainability practices can also lead to shifts within, their own revenues and budgets and cutting costs. And I think also that's a very interesting topic to talk about today when it comes to hotels and directing budgets for digital technologies.
No, definitely, absolutely, and such campaigns or initiatives that we talked about have really a super big positive impact, obviously, on the cost side as well. But the purpose of them should not be to resolve, let's say, a root problem such as staffing that is rooted in a complete different place, right, to the sustainability initiative. But it has a positive impact, definitely, yeah. Um, and I think definitely should be looked into in any case.
Okay, so we have touched like these changes that have been happening in the last few years. We have touched the current situation that's happening right now. In your opinion, if we are fast forwarding to, for example, 5 years from now, what do you think might be one of, the radically different things in how hotels are going to use technology compared to right now? Andrew, maybe you want to start with this one?
Sure. So, I mean, I think at a high level, we'll see more of what's already happening, just using technology to, the kind of what Nick was saying earlier, like using technology to kind of take more routine, tedious tasks on the back end to just enable more actual hospitality moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think, a trend that I'm sure everyone is aware of is kind of the role AI might play in hotel technology. And I see that in kind of two ways. I think, at Stripe, for example, AI certainly is going to improve everything we already currently do. So making it easier to recommend and surface the right payment option to the right customer that may look different if it's me versus Luca, right? Or using technology to AI to better predict when a transaction may be fraudulent. But I also think we're going to see shifts in just the way people book travel. I think there's a moment for hotels to drive more direct bookings because we might start seeing people use LLMs like ChatGPT or Anthropic to search travel and book travel versus going to an Expedia or to a hotel site. So I think there's going to be a shift in terms of how, guests are searching for travel, and it'll be interesting to see kind of the role that hotels play to help drive those bookings potentially away from the Expedias and bookings of the world. So I think kind of to put simply, like AI to me feels like it'll be a game changer, both in terms of kind of, augmenting the existing hotel tech stack to work better, but also from a consumer facing piece, like how the guest is going to be booking and searching and get inspired by travel. And I think there'll be an opportunity for hotels and kind of providers to play a role. And Stripe is doing a lot of really interesting work on the back end to help enable that commerce through the Perplexities, Chat GPTs of the world. So it's a very loaded topic, but I see, as I'm having discussions with people in the broader kind of tech world, it's coming faster than we think. And I hope it means, better experiences both for the guests, but also for the way those of us that are helping run things on the back end operate.
Yeah, my big vote, I totally agree, Andrew. My big vote also goes into AI. It's just such an obvious case because it already has so many actionable examples and it's going so fast. Some of the examples that we, for example, did is last year we used the ChatGPT tech to enable staff members to just talk to devices instead of type, and then they can do that in their own voice, language, and it understands and translates and does everything else. So like that's a huge enabler for multilingual, multicultural staff members, for example. Then there's a whole bunch of things, let's say on the ops side or whichever side of the operations or guest facing or so, that the AI is capable of doing for systems or for people. So it advances so many actions, so it takes away so much admin stuff or manual work, etc. I think, yeah, I mean the the examples are endless that we see it already. So I'm very curious to see. I see a really big possibility that it might enable the old school hospitality a lot in the sense that it will take so much of that friction away and as well as time being lost on admin for staff, let's say as well, so that you will have more time, to spend time with guests in person. I think this is still where the real hospitality part happens. So I'm quite excited, I have to say, about all those examples happening with the AI tech. So that's my absolute number one bet as well.
I fully agree with you guys. I think AI is one of the most, well, it's the most powerful trend in the last several years, and we see a lot of demand from hospitality, and definitely guest experience will become more predictive than reactive as it's now. So every new guest might have a different guest experience depending on his profile, depending on maybe data from his CRM, maybe depending on his age, language he's speaking. So different guests living in same hotels can pass different guest experiences then. So, and I'm sure that digital technologies in hospitality in 5 years will evolve significantly, and it will be a different world. And another trend I would like to mention, and it's changing right now, is that systems hotels using will become more integrated because as of today, hotels using a lot of different systems and they struggling with using, I don't know, 15, 20, maybe 25 different solutions. So systems will become more integrated thanks to cloud solutions, thanks to more developed API, because it's still a challenge and still many things to be done to implement all integrations that is being asked by hotels, like PMS, point of sale, task management system, GRMS, payment gateway, CRM, and so on. There is so many to build. And I think in future it can create very unique guest experience, and we will definitely see a lot of change in the next 5 years.
Yeah, to that point, there are probably going to be numerous AI agents that will be connecting to
Yeah, yeah.
AI layers that will do all of that instead of us and stuff like that. So yeah, it's so
So
much.
maybe AI will do integrations on our behalf in future.
Exactly. Probably
Well,
probably it already can.
yeah, I mean, I think that AI, and you're right. Like, I do think this systems on the back end talking to each other. And I also think we'll see some of it on the front end. Like already there's a trend of like everybody's trying to capture more of the trip spend. So a hotel wants food and beverage and partner with local tour and activities providers. Airlines want to partner with the Ubers and, ride shares of the world to bring in that piece of the trip. So I also think kind of like stitching together a complete end-to-end trip is going, whether through AI or whether through more companies partnering together, I think that's not necessarily a technology, but a theme that I expect to see more of in the next 5 years, because already it feels like so many different pieces of the travel ecosystem are already talking about that or starting to do that.
Mm.
You touched a very interesting topic now, which is, I feel, very unique to the hospitality in general, which is the existence of different systems within the whole hotel, ecosystem, like you just said, Andrew, which is
Uh-huh.
basically in the back end, you have a lot of different providers, a lot of different tech solutions that might not still be, working to their full capability just because they are missing that key ingredient to connect them together to kind of make better decisions from numbers point of view. So AI would definitely, according to all of your predictions, help with that, which is very interesting to imagine in hospitality setting.
I think the other piece, though, AI can help stitch it together. What'll be interesting to see, and this is where more of the human piece comes in, what kind of partnerships and deals can be made across the industry so folks feel comfortable sharing that data across, the different parts of the ecosystem to kind of create that unified either tech stack view or trip at the end of the day. Because I think, there's obviously company permissions and data privacy issues that people need to be very thoughtful of as they navigate this. But I feel like I'm optimistic that the travel industry is going to figure this out because it kind of feels like if we're taking it back to the guests, like that's what they're craving.
That's a very, very good point. Guys, we have around 15 minutes left, and so far our audience has been very attentively listening to us. I'm going to give them a chance now if someone wants to maybe add a question into the chat or maybe wants to unmute themselves and ask it personally. That's also a possibility currently. Definitely for right now. I just wanted to also maybe while we are waiting for some questions to come in, again touch on the point of meaningful personalization. Nikolay mentioned one interesting thing, and during our previous conversation, Luka did the same thing. The ability of crafting different guest journeys for different profiles of guests within one stay. That sounds like something everyone should be doing, everyone should be adjusting, meaningful personalization instead of just, plastering first name, last name on everything the guest can see within their stay, but actually like adjusting the stay so the guest feels at home during that experience.
Mm.
Uh, Please.
No, sorry.
No. Please, I just wanted to say, like, from your unique points of view, is there something that hotels might be doing already now, and they're maybe missing on some key moment there?
Yeah, I think there's a big low-hanging fruit opportunity in the data that we've been having forever, actually, about guests, but not actioning them. So
Mm-hmm.
say every reservation has basic data such as like where does this guest come from, where has he or she booked from, are they traveling solo, do they have kids, what are their rates, are they, I don't know, any VIP levels, what are the notes saying, etc., etc. So like one of the things that I think is also a big thing that everyone should tap into is in general automation, AI powered or not AI powered. A lot of it is actually AI powered to just maybe the first level of personalization might be just attention, and what I mean by attention is like that you put that attention into who's that guest and what's the purpose and stuff like that, and then prepare them the things that they need. Let's say my personal experience would be I'm often traveling with small kids. So let's say if we go to a spa type of resort, we would need bathrobes, like
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I am not even so hoteliers can now do that proactively without me even telling them that because they would know that my kids are 4 and 6 years old. And that can be an automatic, let's say, automation today to the right team member that says, hey, please prepare 2 bathrobes of this and that size. If you have a business to business agreement with someone, that can be a trigger in the booking rate that, hey, we need to prepare them, I don't know, a fruit basket or whatever's that need, or maybe a iron desk, or maybe that's a airline crew and they are coming late or having early checkouts, check-ins, and stuff like that. So what I mean is that this type of data we are having for decades, or you are having for decades,
Yeah.
like because it's like kind of the basic data about guests, but it was very tricky to actionize them, because you have 200, 300, 500 rooms. There's no chance people go through that. And there's also no chance that you organize that many tasks and then deliver them as well. And this is where automation kicks in super nicely and enables that. And this I consider is more like a attention level of personalization, because you put attention into understanding kind of the guest on the basic level. And then there's okay, what can we do extra? How do we listen to the guest? How do we actionize in the guest stay what we've heard? And, if we heard that someone is actually celebrating anniversary, what can we do about that? How can we deliver that? But yeah, I think the base up level opportunity is really in understanding guests and actionizing that. And this is a huge opportunity to drive loyalty and more revenue and all of that.
Absolutely. Nick, okay, there is a question from Charles coming in. Charles, you can unmute yourself if you want to ask the question, or you can send it in the chat.
Hi,
Both.
guys. Hi. So I'm Charles Thomas. I'm the founder of Hotel Guest Experience Forum. I've known Nikolay and Hoteza for many years. Probably I met Luka as well on his birthday. I think it was in ITB. Was it Luka or Luka's colleague?
Might be.
Yes. All right. So I think AI is amazing. But what I'm trying to also get into is how can we continuously update AI from the feedback that we receive from the guest? That's AI is fed with data, pre-fed, and how to communicate with all of the guests. But the guests have different expectations. They have different demands during their stay, and things could just go wrong. But are we learning from those mistakes? Are we learning from those new demands that the guests are throwing in every day? So I think the continuous update, I've never come across any article which mentions that we've got an AI which continuously updates the communication learned from the guest.
Charles, is that a specific guest-facing communication question in general, or
It's in general. How do you update AI based on the customer reaction? Or
Well, I understand the question of Charles. Hi, Charles. Yeah. So, for example, in Hoteza, we just recently launched AI chatbot. So actually how it works, we can feed chatbot with some data we have in the hotel, like where is the breakfast, what time is the breakfast. So depending on guests' questions, so that I can learn. So next answer of I can be even better and more customized depending on the specific hotel. I think this is what Charles is meaning. So actually, I fully agree that, and you all see that the AI becomes more and more smart. So it's learning over the time, and so this is what we are going to deploy in our technology as well. But it's just started in Hoteza, and actually we are not using it yet, but just discussing internally. But definitely, it's a good direction. Thank you, Charles.
And I think at a high level too, I think like for any kind of niche like capability so that you want AI to do, whether like Stripe, we use it internally to help us augment everything I mentioned, from fraud detection to payments to the checkout flow. But like if you're talking about like taking real-time guest data and making sure that that updates any kind of predictive capabilities to show up in the right tool of choice, you can try to piece that together yourself, but that's a big effort and very costly. Or you can find kind of niche providers, some of which may be on this call, and others to kind of really help. So this is where my recommendation would be, especially unless you're a Marriott, rely on kind of these folks that are building these agents and models themselves, because it's a huge lift and cost to build on your own.
Yeah, I also think that it's a great question, and it's a little bit also down to the use case of where where you need some information for what purpose type of a thing as well. Let's say if that's guest stay, stay phase, and if that's a front office point or a F&B point of the interaction or housekeeping point of interaction, I think the way AI should process everything is based on all information it knows. Now, this is again relative to the point, right? So let's say within our system, you can be getting information about complaints, tasks, requests, services, maintenance tickets, housekeeping services, many, many different things. And then again, if we now go back to how can AI learn, if we or when we feed that to the right point where AI is summarizing that for the right action and purpose, that is very effective already today, but I would, yeah, a little bit think about it like what is the point of interaction and the intention of the needed information, right? So if that's Nikolay, your system that wants to proactively feed something to them, this is where we feed your system and
Yeah.
your AI engine with what we know about the operational preference,
Yeah, I'm sure it's not only about guest facing, it's about back of house as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and vice
For
versa.
sure.
Exactly, and vice
Vice
versa.
versa, yeah.
So it's a really good question, and I think like probably there's an ecosystem coming up, or kind of like the way it works between systems where you feed each other constantly to have as much as information as you need for the right at the right moments for the right services and interactions, I would say.
The other thing that just comes top of mind to me too is this is a screaming example of different systems that we're going to need to talk to each other. Like whatever you use for your data platform, if you're working with the likes of a Hoteza, you're probably going to also need to think about your PMS and also, your if you use Salesforce, et cetera. Like there's different pieces of the puzzle that the data will need to kind of cycle through or collect from to do it. But I think it's worth the investment itself because, this is ultimately what enables like true personalization. So I love the question, Charles. It's great that you're thinking about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we need to attach revenue also to that AI.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think do you mean, Charles, sort of like, if you implement AI, can you look at the ROI to be like, now we're driving loyalty in such a way or repeat or expanded RevPAR? Like how do you mean specifically, Charles?
Um, I believe the revenue sits on every stage of guest journey.
Yeah.
So whether it's communication or operations or any sort of thing that we do. Example, say for example, I spoke to actually one of the moderators and who could not find a vegan menu in a hotel. He stayed in Europe, so that was quite tricky. So the question would be a communication: is there a vegan restaurant nearby? Okay, so if many other guests are asking the same questions, the AI is already now prioritizing on that particular question and maybe adding that question in the hotel FAQs, or to go one step better, maybe have that in their menu so that we're not losing out on that revenue to the outside world.
Yeah, it's a good point. So actually, we can ask so what kind of questions were being asked the most common, and I didn't find my FAQ. So he can give us advice every day, and we can continuously update and upgrade. So it's the beauty of AI, so it can learn all the time.
Yeah. So definitely, there's plenty of revenue opportunities there in-house. But again, guests are there for local experiences. The local experiences can start from the hotel itself.
If, for example, we know it's a family guest, and for example, we know the family guest likes to order something, I don't know,
Yeah.
tickets to zoo. So next family guest will see tickets to zoo on the first place. So as an example. I would like to make a quick integration announcement about Charles. I didn't know that Charles is going to attend our conference today. So actually, Charles is he used to work at IHTF, a hospitality technology forum, and since last year he's making a guest experience forum. So the first one is going to take place in Dubai, and two more followed later, one in Stockholm, another one in London. So I think it's an amazing platform to meet the people from digital guest experience. So I recommend and really endorse Charles as a very nice organizer of this kind of technology, hospitality technology events.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Charles.
much. Thank you to Hoteza and Rumio for the support. Looking forward to working with you.
Yeah.
Charles, thank you for a very insightful question that sparked up the very good conversation at the very end of our panel. Because we are reaching the end, I want to thank everyone, especially Andrew and Luka, for joining us for the first ever, as I already said, Hoteza OpenTalks. It's been a pleasure to chatting with the three of you gentlemen, and thank you so much for a very productive
Tanya, I think there are a couple of more questions. I saw there's a question to
in the
Andrew.
chat.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think we have maybe time for one more, and it's a very specific one for Andrew. Does
I won't be able to get into full details, but the short version is yes, Stripe is going to expand to cover Turkey. We also just launched stablecoin payments, which right now allows for payouts to multiple geographies instantly. So, that would allow at least payout and pay in functionality for some of our operations in Turkey. So but yes, Kerem, thank you for the question. You're not the first person to ask, and I know Turkey is certainly something that we are keeping top of mind. So watch this space, please.
Thanks, Andrei, for your answer.
Yep.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you guys for making the planet better together with us. So we work in the same industry, and definitely it's evolving and getting more efficient, more smart, more sustainable over the years. And so thank you so much. I'm really very grateful for your time today, and definitely would like to continue our collaboration over next years.
Likewise, Nikolay, thank you so much, and Sanya for having us.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining, and thank you to everyone who joined us on the conversation today. It's first of many Hoteza OpenTalks, and I hope to see you all again.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.